Okay, we are live. Drew, go ahead and get us started, brother.
All right, everybody, welcome to a very special edition of the Duty Podcast. This is episode number 50. I am your co-host for the day, running with the usual crowd of Daniel Palmer and Chad Floyd. Daniel Palmer, you can find him on the tweets at dpalm66. Palmer, what's up, man?
I want to go on record to say that for me, this really is like the 42nd UG podcast because I'm pretty sure I missed about 8, so those don't count for me. Or to me. Those podcasts never happened if I'm not on them. So basically, I'll see you guys back in 8 episodes to really celebrate. But on a more serious note, this is an awesome thing. I think it's been fun getting to know you guys or getting to know Andrew, and it's been fun tolerating Chad over the last few podcasts. And I want to thank anyone who's ever listened to us. Like, I'm not sure. I know we're not the most listened to thing in the world, but if you've taken the time out to listen to us talk about sports and joke about sports and be way too serious sometimes about sports, we appreciate it. There are 3 basic needs in human life. It's eating, it's procreating, and it's being heard. And this lets us be heard. And so thanks to anyone who's been along for 50 episodes or 1 episode. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to anyone that's procreated while hearing us. If you have done that, leave a 5-star review on iTunes and we'll read it on air. Also on the line, as somewhat always, like myself, is Mr. Chad Floyd. Find him on Twitter, Chad_Floyd. Chad, what's going on, man? How's the Atlanta transition going?
The transition's over. Everything else is going pretty well, and now we're just transitioning into summer where I'm feeling it about to hit 105 degrees or so, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah. Can't argue with that one.
Can't wait.
I'm kind of going the opposite direction of Palmer here. This really is episode maybe 61 or 62 because I had there are a lot of lost podcasts out there that someday will be compiled into just a great highlight clip.
Low light. You got that wrong.
Well, tomato as far as we're concerned, except Palmer, go ahead.
Nobody says tomato.
There you go.
Yeah, I think, ironically, Palmer and I tried to record episode 50 last week. So even episode 50, this is the second one of them. So someday the Lost Podcast will be released. I echo both of your sentiments. I think there's been a lot more technological learning or maybe not learning that's happened than I would have expected. But at the same time, never really anticipated that we'd make it to 50 podcasts just because, the whole idea was so new when we jumped into it. Not new to the world, but new to us. But obviously I appreciate you guys coming on. Certainly appreciate the listeners. And I hope other people have had good times because I feel like speaking for all of us, I mean, arguably my favorite podcasting memory is when we got together at my office and didn't record a podcast, even though the whole point of getting together was to record one. But I've enjoyed the sports fellowship for sure.
Bourbon.
Go ahead.
And just on one note, just based on the technology thing, are y'all ditching the whole video pod thing? Because I'm still live on video as far as I know, and y'all are just mugshots.
Well, I'm going on my phone right now, so I ditched the video.
And I'm still hungover from Hangout, so I ditched the video.
So everyone can watch Chad and listen to me and Daniel, and no one wins.
No one.
So it wouldn't be a Duty Podcast if we didn't make fun of Chad, and it wouldn't be a Duty Podcast if we didn't talk a little bit about sports. So obvious topic coming to mind right now is the NBA playoffs. Palmer and I have talked about the playoffs on the pod. Palmer and Chad have talked about the playoffs on the pod. I don't know that we've all gotten together and had a full discussion on them, but right now, obviously, as we move on further into the playoffs, first time we've talked about the conference finals. Palmer, real quick, is either of these series more entertaining to you than the other?
The Spurs series would be way more entertaining if Serge Ibaka's ankle was actually a factor. I think that less compelling with the injury. The Heat series is compelling if only because the Pacers have been such a train wreck all playoffs, and they seem to play up the competition. I know a lot of articles have been written about how they play better as underdogs. I think it's less than either of those. It's just a really good matchup for them. Bosch doesn't stretch the floor as much as Antic does. They don't have the super quick guards of the Wizards. the Heat are going to win. I think it's compelling to see how LeBron and Wade kind of meet out that level of play needed to beat them. You saw last night, or I guess Monday night, Tuesday night. Time means nothing anymore. Last night you saw LeBron and Wade really turn on the last 9 minutes of the game. It turned out that as long as the team kept it close to that point, it got out of hand. It went from a 1-point lead for the Pacers to about 90 seconds later a 7-point lead for the Heat, and no one can really explain to me what happened. So for me, it's the Heat, just if anything, to see how they get it done. I think the Spurs won. I hate to say it, but they're going to win. The Thunder are going to win 2 games when Durant goes off and then when Westbrook goes off, and I think that's about it for that series.
Chad, kind of a follow. I'm going to follow up to Chad with a question about something Daniel just said.
Fair enough.
But realistically, I mean, is it going to be enough for the Heat, not only in this series, but to make a run at another championship and get one? Is it going to be enough for them to kind of have this on switch that they hit in the third or the fourth quarter? Or are they going to have to put a little bit? And I hate to use the term, complete. But are they going to have to put together a complete game more consistently to win another title?
I think they will, but I think you've got 4 flawed teams to a point at this point. Dwayne Wade in the second half was, and in the first quarter for that matter last night, was a Dwayne Wade I haven't seen since last June, maybe even before that. So I think if Wade's going to go ahead and turn on being Dwayne Wade, top 10 player, the Heat can win it out. But that being said, like I said, all 4 teams are flawed here. The Heat and the Thunder are basically 2-man teams with a bunch of role players. That's going to work for the Heat fine, I think, but for the Thunder, not so much, as Palmer just alluded to. Spurs are old, and the Pacers are just dysfunctional, is the only way you can really put it. But I said this on either one of the Lost Pods or on episode 49 that Palmer and I recorded at some point. I still got Spurs over Miami once this thing plays itself out.
I want to play not even devil's advocate because I don't think this happens. But if the Pacers were to, let's say they win the East and go on and actually win an NBA title, which I don't think any of us on this podcast actually believe will happen. But if it were to happen, Palmer, can you think of a more dysfunctional team to win a title? And by dysfunctional, maybe I even just mean a team that was so dysfunctional so late in the season. Obviously, if they win, it's not going to be a byproduct of that dysfunction. But, I mean, really all year, really since the All-Star break, the story has been the falling apart of the Pacers. I mean, you and I talked at great lengths about how frustrating it was that the hometown Atlanta Hawks happened to lose to, again, this team that's just kind of the laughingstock of the NBA in some ways in the Pacers. Can you think of another team that kind of mirrors that?
You do remember Shaq and Kobe won a couple rings, right? And to say that they were dysfunctional based on the sparse reporting that was done then because people were scared of pissing off the Lakers, but also Phil's book and everything that's happened since they 2 parted ways, I think it's safe to say that dysfunction would define those teams. But they had a Phil Jackson. My impression of Frank Vogel has been he's more of an X's and O's guy than an inspirational guy, a Tex winner without a Phil Jackson, if you will. I think it's going to be interesting. It'd be interesting to see this Pacers team make it past the Heat for the first part, but to knock off presumably the Spurs. I think we all kind of agree that Spurs are the look here. It'd be a story for the ages, and it would be one of the more divisive playoff runs that you could probably look at, being taken to the wire, as you alluded to, by both the 38-win Hawks and the Wizards.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting in a lot of ways. I mean, it's like you look at Pacers and Spurs, and it's like you kind of have polar opposites kind of in the demeanor. Chad, how confident are you that it's going to end up being Heat Spurs in the finals? I know you got Spurs winning, it sounds like, but you're taking both those two to go to the finals.
Yeah, I'd put it at about 80-85%. The Paul George concussion is playing a big role in that because, I really thought the Heat have started to look tired the first 2 games. After 3 straight summers of playing every possible basketball game they could play, the Pacers really looked like the younger, more energetic, and stronger team last night to me, but the Heat pulled it out because LeBron James is LeBron James, and Dwayne Wade is Dwayne Wade of like 2006. What I want to know, though, is if the Pacers were to make the finals, then get swept by the Spurs, Would Frank Vogel get fired?
I guess I could make a case either way because on one hand, I feel like, again, we're talking everything we've said about the Pacers, even at this point, even though they're still, tied in a series in the conference finals, all we can talk about is how dysfunctional they are. And if they get swept by a team as old as the Spurs, and no disrespect to the Spurs, but the Pacers kind of have this roster that everyone thought would be kind of an antidote to the Heat. And if they were to actually get there, but then get swept, I think that would be a byproduct of the much dwelt on dysfunction and just lack of vision, and maybe directly that's going to reflect on Vogel.
I'd like a short list of any NBA coach who made the finals who was fired going into the next season. I'll wait. Actually, I won't wait because the list is 0. He makes the finals. I hate cutting you off, but he makes the finals. That's it. I think he's kept his job now. As long as you get a competitive series out of them, they went 7 last year. If you can take them 6 or 7 this year, they improve. This is a team that improved with home court. The ownership and management isn't nearly as fickle as Golden State, who I will continue to mention.
Oh my gosh.
Until Mark Jackson's hired by someone else. It's ridiculous. But
I was thinking what a great fit Mark Jackson would be in Indiana.
Yeah.
You didn't think that. I thought that a week and a half ago when I texted you.
When?
But no big deal. No big deal.
When was that?
I just said when it was. Anyway, I think that Vogel, what he's done so far, he's safe. He's played the champs close. I think that if they did get by the Heat, the Spurs, there wouldn't be age that beat them. It'd be experience. It'd be a whole lot of Popovich, and it'd be that outside shooting. It's been much been made about San Antonio was the first team to get ahead of the curve on the corner threes. And I think that would really be the death of them because they've got perimeter players that are going to be tough for LeBron to follow and hang up with, let alone this Pacers squad, which is built so strong up the middle.
So, Palmer, you got Spurs Heat as well advancing?
Yeah, let's run it back. It was great fun last year. When 7, it was almost over in 6, except for one missed bunny. Let's run it back.
I'm for it. I agree, and I think you kind of have this almost, in some ways, maybe an unspoken rivalry that could develop, just in the sense that, I think people really quickly forget how great last year's series was, and I'd love to see it again. I'm all for it. I think we're gonna see it again. I lean towards, at this point, the Heat coming out on top. I know Chad says Spurs. Palmer, you're breaking the tie.
I'll roll with the champs till they're beat. I think that the Spurs winning is not out of the question. I think it seems a lot younger than people think it is. Kawhi Leonard has come on as pretty much someone called him the best parts of the big three thrown in a cauldron and tossed in with suffocating defense. The guy has just become amazing. He's going to be that X factor in the finals and in the playoffs going forward. I think the Heat win in 7. But the fact that it goes 7, that's the analyst cop-out, just saying, I don't know what's going to happen. I think winning in San Antonio in 7 would be a tall order, but if anyone can do it, it's LeBron James.
Very good. Anybody else have anything to add on playoff talk? Again, we'll be talking about this over the next coming weeks, but anything at this time?
That's it for me.
Chad?
There's only 4 teams. There's only so much more we can do.
Yeah. So let's talk real quick about, while we're staying in the league, let's talk a little bit about the draft lottery. Obviously, for those who loosely follow the NBA and maybe aren't as in tune with the lottery, in a quick summary, it's a lottery. Teams that don't make the playoff, they get a certain number of odds represented by ping pong balls. Ping pong balls are selected. What's crazy about it is that the Cleveland Cavaliers won it for a second consecutive year. 3 of the last 4 first picks have gone to the Cleveland Cavs, which is astronomically unlikely. Palmer, the obvious question, and I think we're probably going to have the same answer, is the thing rigged?
Not anymore. I've never been one of the conspiracy theorists who thought it was rigged.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, and I sent you guys both this text this morning, David Stern would not have let this happen.
Right.
Cleveland pulling 3 out of 4. After
if anything, it's proof that it's not rigged.
Yeah, and then furthermore, the one year they didn't get it, Anthony Davis is going to be a top 10 player for the next 20 years. Yeah. So let's just say Anthony Bennett and Kyrie Irving, well, Anthony Bennett more than anyone else, was a huge disappointment, and to continue playing out His career's not over by a long shot, but it was not a good rookie season for him. Kyrie Irving obviously is emerging as one of the better point guards, but it's a point guard heavy league. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers have used the Comic Sans magic of Dan Gilbert and somehow channeled their way into, I believe it's going to be Embiid out of Kansas. That's what the rumors, if they don't trade the pick. But let's just say the not so rich got a little bit richer again last night.
Yeah, I think that if you're Dan Gilbert right now, you walked everywhere you went today, like Kenny Powers, probably had a Cleveland Cavs flag draped over your shoulders like a cape.
And a Johnny Manziel jersey.
It was nonstop taunting. Chad, what do you think about the Cavs pulling number one again?
Well, if it's rigged, or if you think it's rigged, then your conspiracy theory kind of doesn't hold water when you realize that the Celtics, the Lakers, and the Knicks all failed to move up in the draft. As far as it goes with Cleveland, I'm just kind of baffled at this point. I mean, like you said, it was astronomical odds. I think the Johnny Manziel and Kenny Powers combination today walking around Cleveland, where it is always cloudy, would be apropos. I think Johnny Manziel's looking for a roommate, and I think the funniest fallout from Cleveland getting the number one overall pick was today. The Atlanta Hawks official Twitter says, we went out and bought a lottery ticket, and it was just a photoshopped lottery ticket with 4 Cleveland Cavaliers logos on it.
It's a pretty good tweet.
It was amazing trolling by the Atlanta Hawks, for whom I've gained just a lot of respect. The biggest fallout for me last night was how cute was the Milwaukee Bucks owner's daughter.
Yeah, I saw a story where she went from like 400 Twitter followers to like 10,000 or something in a matter of minutes.
And you are one of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I literally like did a search and was like, who is she? Follow. But yeah. So that. Oh, and then there was another somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but there was another story that popped up today that somebody else's daughter. I can't remember which team.
The Kings had a daughter, I think.
And she's some kind of like musician or something.
Oh, really?
And they, like,
ladies and gentlemen, where Smut and Sports meet, Chad Floyd will be there. My God, I had no idea about either one of these angles. I'm so glad no one asked me because I guess I'm just horribly out of touch. But Chad Floyd, way to go. Way to take the point on this.
Well, really, I just wanted to bury the lead. The fact that my Charlotte Hornets, the day they are, the Charlotte Hornets again, got their first stroke of good luck ever and had the Pistons get jumped, so they actually landed in the lottery this year.
The Hornets, they're back.
Oh, yeah.
They're back. So, one last thing on the lottery, and I don't know if you guys have seen these things floating around, but several kind of sports nerds, guys nerdier even than us, have proposed this NBA lottery wheel. Have you seen this, guys?
Yeah.
Basically, for those who are out there, basically you would rotate what pick you have. The whole idea is a little bit more fair distribution, less reliance on luck. I mean, how do you guys feel about the lottery? I actually kind of enjoy the spectacle of it and get a kick out of it. Now, if I had the worst team in the league and they didn't get the number one pick, I'd be a little pissed. But, Chad, are you okay with the lottery?
Not really. I've always liked Bill Simmons' idea where they play a single elimination tournament for the 8th seed among all of the worst teams. And the better you perform, I forget exactly how his formula works, but the better you perform in that, the better chances you get in the lottery or something. I don't know. It was kind of preposterous, but as a Bill Simmons idea will sometimes be, but I kind of enjoyed that idea. As opposed to a situation where when a team sucks out loud as badly as this year's Bucks or 2 years ago's Bobcats did, and still not, can still often not sniff a top 3 pick, I think is a little bit backwards. But I don't know. I'd rather see a situation where it was just all even for the teams that missed the playoffs. I think it'd make it a lot more exciting.
Palmer, how about you?
I have no serious problems with the lottery. Like anyone and any old idea, it could use some tweaking. On its face, though, everyone wants to point to recent years teams have been tanking. Teams have been tanking for a while.
Right.
This isn't a new situation, and this isn't the NFL where every team has a chance. It's not the reason we watch basketball. You watch basketball for stars. And if I can get a star who ends up in OKC or San Antonio and stays their entire career, God bless them. And I think that more than anything else would carry the lottery. The fact that the world's gotten smaller, the fact that the media rights has gone up across the world. There are kids wearing Russell Westbrook jerseys in China. The fact that it doesn't really matter what city you land in. Sure, sometimes people will say, oh, you'd rather be in New York or LA, but you can be a marketable athlete in Oklahoma City, which means it can happen anywhere. So I don't think that the lottery is really a horrible thing. I kind of see where Chad's coming from, where you'd want to see some more what you call just abject fairness. But I like the randomization. I like the random stories we get. I like the fact that I got Dr. J on my TV last night. What can I say?
Yeah, I think the whole tanking thing is just like really a trite storyline. It's like, I think if you really want to, throw that story out and talk about that for a long time, then you're completely ignoring the fact that professional sports is extremely competitive. And if a team owner makes a decision, or a general manager whose job is on the line, that, hey, our future is best tied to this college player, we need to do what we got to do to get them, that's a calculated decision. I don't know that we can really – I kind of like the added angle of that kind of strategy. It's the reason I like keeper leagues and fantasy football. I like a little bit more prolonged strategy. So I'm totally good in line with that, with the lottery, because I think it adds strategy, but it doesn't totally incentivize people directly just to tank.
And granted, baseball's draft isn't as ballyhooed as basketball's, but football's absolutely is. That's based strictly on record, and you never really hear any tanking accusations, although I would say there are situations where there's been pretty evident tanking in both sports.
Yeah, absolutely. Last story I've really got, I don't know if you guys have kept up with this Donald Sterling guy at all, but yeah. Palmer, you added this to the agenda in our pre-production meeting. Even more Donald Sterling news today. We joked about how he's the podcast gift that keeps on giving, with how many awful things that he has done, said, you name it. Palmer, catch everybody up.
Okay, for the record, all the things we missed in the podcast, 50 episodes, half a year pretty much. We missed Summer Petrino. We missed Summer of Dirk, which was hilarious.
Yes.
We missed a lot. We missed so many. We missed just so many great, hilarious sports stories. But I want to thank the universe for Donald Sterling, not for the evil that he is, but for the humor that he brings to my life. So if anyone wasn't paying attention, over the weekend, Donald Sterling alleged that the NBA had no grounds to terminate him, that he refused to pay the fine, and that he would be fighting the court. So the NBA today released a formal review. In the 30-page report, they found that Sterling tried to get Sterling's girlfriend, whose name doesn't really exist. She's just Sterling's girlfriend, to lie about the authenticity of the tape and tell investigators she'd altered the recording. He said that he would not only cancel the lawsuit against her, but remunerate her in multiple millions of dollars if she did so. April 9th, more than 2 weeks before the tape became public, Clippers received a copy of the recording. Team president Andy Rosner, who you may remember from other stories, who claimed that he was forced into releasing a statement stating that they had no idea what this was and it was probably fake. He got the tape saved 2 weeks early and instructed his employee to destroy the copy and destroy any text messages relating to the copy. Furthermore, public records now show that Sterling and his wife are not estranged. I'm quoting the report now. Significant evidence exists in the public record and otherwise that Mr. and Mrs. Sterling are not any sense estranged. They are inexorably intertwined to fight their claims. Those words being used is just Adam Silver twisting a knife. He's like, no, we can say that better. Go with inexorably intertwined like that. They attended most Clippers home games together this season, were spotted together at the All-Star game, and 2 days together immediately before the recording went public. And they, of course, the lawyers are fighting in public now, but the hearing is set for June 3rd. Sterling has until Tuesday to respond to the charges. He has the right to appear at his own hearing and make a presentation. If Sterling does not reply by Tuesday, it'd be grounds for termination as an owner. Basically, it'd be the old I refuse the breathalyzer, so you're getting taken in for DUI. Except you make $1 billion and lose. The Sterling thing, I've written about it. You've heard about it ad nauseum everywhere. We're not going to hash the whole story. But Chad, this has gotten to the realm of ridiculous, to the point where, building off your Simmons theme, can we rename the Tyson zone the Sterling zone?
Yes. You have to.
Chad, if I told you that Donald Sterling was a Komodo dragon standing upright in an old man's suit, would you believe me?
I would have no reason not to.
Thank you. We've hit that line.
I mean, but based on just sheer extended comedy that lasts a long time, where are we in Sterling versus Petrino at this point?
The man rode a motorcycle into a ditch and then waved off the ambulance and then lied with a neck brace and
a press conference
and a Sugar Bowl champions hat. Nah, bro, we're not there yet.
That doesn't get topped.
We may get close. We're not topping those 2 days. See, that's the other thing, is this is being stretched out. Those 2 days won't be topped for sports comedy in the foreseeable future.
And that's the other side of it, is like, I mean, obviously, like at the core root of both of these men, you just have kind of despicable humans. But if you're looking at what Sterling has actually done and his track record of just wickedness, for lack of a better word, that in its root is not as naturally comedic. Whereas Petrino's sins, man, I'll laugh about that all day.
Petrino can't stop lying. He can't stop lying. Donald Sterling can't stop being institutionally racist against people.
But Sterling's starting to kind of swim over into other realms here, telling people he's estranged from his wife, and then, I mean, they're inextricably attached. I mean, that's pretty rich there.
There are facets that can flirt with the Petrino story, pun totally intended. But as a whole, because I think the Petrino story was such a tight ball of wax. Like, it was, bam, here's the story, here's why it's funny, and we can make fun of Petrino forever. Sterling was like, yeah, it's funny, and now it's getting stretched out, and he requested a 3-month delay, and Silver said no. And it's really, right now, it's more like someone trying to prolong his punishment. It's the kid who knows he's getting grounded, so he takes a long way home from school. That's exactly what this is. Like, it's going to be hard when I get home. The report cards came in. I'm in trouble. I'm going to see if I can sit after practice today and go home a little late. I've never done this. I don't know why it sounded so personal. Let's move on.
That's all I got in the sports world. Chad, you got anything sports-related to add?
Sports-related to add? It's about 100 days to football season. Are we going to break out the 100 days of SEC dominance again?
We might need to do that. I kind of quit it in the middle of last year. I think I got down to like the last 40 days, and then I just started doing team previews. But
yeah, I think I remember at some point randomly throwing in like a 14 days of SEC dominance or something. Like 2 weeks before, but after 3 weeks after you gave it up.
We could relaunch that for sure. Yeah, I'm starting to get excited about college football season again. Daniel Palmer, you had a fun weekend. Tell us about it.
So if you're not a festival person, that's fine, and if you are one, great. For my money, the best festival in America is Hangout Fest. Not only do you have music and good times, but you've also you're on the beach and waking up every day in various states of drunk and looking out the balcony and seeing the beach was a good experience. A lot of fun was had. Went down with a bunch of friends, caught some great bands, learned about some new bands, and I got to watch the Mighty Outcast from like 20 feet away. So yeah, basically. On, and it's going to be our adult spring break until it kills me, which, to be perfectly honest, it got close this year.
So, all right, best band you saw, followed by best new band that you were introduced to.
That's not even fair, the best band I saw. Nothing's topping Outkast for me.
Outside of Outkast.
All right, I got to tie it with one band I've seen a bunch, and one band it's my first time seeing live. I've never seen Trombone Shorty perform before, and that was great. The guy he puts on a hell of a show. He was working like I think the 3 o'clock slot, which isn't obviously prime time, but the stage was packed. It was one of the ones staged off the beach, so it was kind of on the walkway, and it was packed to the gills. I saw the Flaming Lips for the third time at Hangout, and I think the fifth time total. And once again, those guys put on an incredible stage and light show. The band, the performance of a new group that I saw, I'm going to screw up the name, and I apologize. I'm looking this up right now because someone wrote something on my Facebook wall about them. I'm trying to figure out exactly what their name is. So I'm stalling and vamping right now by telling you what I'm doing while I do it, and it is. Damn, didn't get there.
The suspense.
I was close. That was a pretty good stall. The Bloody Beetroots. I enjoy all types of music. It's EDM, but it's EDM with a grand piano on stage.
Oh,
so
hey.
At that point, yeah, it my attention, and it was a great set. We kind of wandered. We were waiting to go to Flaming Lips, and I was like, "What's that noise under that there tent?" And we wandered over there, and it was a great experience. I guess they're a Swedish band, or they're foreign, so I look at another country. Well, but.
Palmer, you just went full like auto tune on us.
Good.
Palmer's still in the music festival zone.
No, I'm really. I slept 11 hours yesterday. Truth be told, I watched the Heat Pacers game on my DVR when I got home from work today, so I could talk about it. I fell asleep after the first quarter. Slept 11 hours. So public service announcement: if you can avoid flying U.S. Air, do it. They lost my bag on the way down. On the way back, we got trapped in Charlotte overnight, so I got to fly out of Charlotte at 6:30 in the morning and go to work at 9. It was the worst thing ever. I tweeted at them. They tweeted back, calling me Napoleon, which I thought was really funny.
Mr. Turnip Hard.
I was like, you can't think it's a real name. But yes, they will not be getting any more of my business, God willing. So yeah, if you have to fly somewhere, find an alternate route. Pay the extra money to not fly U.S. Air. That's all I got.
Well, there goes our U.S. Air sponsorship for the podcast.
Good.
This was episode 50. We'll be back with episode 51 probably on Saturday.
Saturday.
Officially calling. What's its name again now?
Okay, so I'm tired of. So I guess no one likes my name of the round, which is fine because Andrew kept passive aggressively changing the name. So it will now be known as the Weekly Hangover. I think it's an apropos title. Most of us are drinking during it anyway. So if you're free on Saturday morning, which I know you are, there's no college football, swing by the site. I'll have a post up with the embedded link. We'll be running the Hangover live. It's at noon Eastern, 11 at other times, and it doesn't really matter. And we'll be talking about the week's sports stories.
Perfect. We'll try to get Jason Smith back on. Daniel Palmer, DPalm66 on Twitter. Thanks for being here, man.
Always a pleasure. 50 more!
And to 100 or bust. And Chad Floyd, former intern, Chad_Floyd on Twitter. Thanks for stopping by.
Always an absolute pleasure. And the Weekly Hangover I actually can't object to. So, Palmer, after about 3 weeks of time, you finally came to a name that we can actually agree on. So, congratulations.
It's a big day for me. 50 and a name.
All right, everybody. Have a good one.
See ya.